Turn the microphones on. It's better. Welcome back to WMMBAM.com, our video on demand section. Today we're taking a look at the Palm Bay Council race for Seat 3. Brian Jacob Anderson, the candidate that is with us. Michelle Passione is the incumbent in that race. Missy Wilson and Pat Woodard also in that race. Our only candidate to appear here today, Brian Anderson. You take into account what that means to you. Brian, thank you for taking the time. I'm glad you're here and appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's too important not to be here.
Let's talk about what got you into this race. What are you seeing as the primary issue? If you had to pick one in the city of Palm Bay, what would it be?
The top of my head, the biggest problem, the pension issue.
That being with the fire department, police department, or all city employees?
Actually, I think we have to take it as a whole, and we have to look at all three departments, all the city-run utilities, the police department, and the fire department to actually get to where we need to be to avoid the fiscal cliff we're on.
And what would you see as a solution for that pension problem that the city's facing?
You know, I'm the only candidate that actually has laid out a plan. We do have a 10-point plan. I won't get into all 10 points of the plan, but the first thing is to work on common goals. We have common goals. We can agree out of five out of 10 things. So the first thing is to get long-term contracts. There's no reason we need to butt our heads against the wall every 3 years. It doesn't make sense, and it's not productive. The new council can't work on anything else because they're still trying to work on the old council business. So let's get those contracts long-term. The goals we can agree on, we need to lock those down long-term. Okay, the health and safety of the departments is very important to me, and I think that's another reason we need the parkway. That's going to alleviate some of the traffic. It's going to enable them to get to the let's say it's a crime scene or a fire. It's going to enable them to get to that incident quicker. That's going to help. Another thing we need to do is partner with the county. The county is not our enemy. They are our friend. And if they're in a 2-mile radius and we're in a 4-mile radius, it would only make sense that they would cover that area and not us. So I think we can look at that a little better. And that's just 3 of the ways we can actually begin to improve the system.
All right, tell this audience a little bit about you, your background, your experience, and what you bring to the table as a potential councilman here.
Again, my name is Brian Jacob Anderson. You've already said that. I'm a husband, a father, a taxpayer, a homeowner. So I think those are all important issues to the resident because I think like a resident first, and the resident is first in my mind. We ran in 2008. We ran a great campaign, and we came up just short. And I think that is part of the reason we're in the situation we're in today. The council got very liberal and was spending a lot of money. So I have a management background. I managed a thrift store in Alaska, a very successful thrift store. They have a chain of over 200. Managed a movie theater up there, very successful, and have managed several small business very successfully. So I have a management background, construction and retail. And I think that's going to help when we come down to crunch the numbers that we have to crunch. And I have a backbone. I'm going to stand up. I'm not just a go-with-it guy. I haven't seen any policy offered up by my opponent, the incumbent, to actually change the path of Palm Bay. And that's why I come with a plan. I come with a plan on increasing the economic development, lowering the taxes, and using the land we've annexed over the last couple of years, partnering with development to see the city become profitable, not just another empty strip mall for an eyesore for the city, actually somebody that wants to be part of the city and grow with the city.
All right, very good. Let's talk about the city's budget and the tax rate in Palm Bay. Do you feel the budgetary situation is adequate right now? Are we budgeting too much money? Do we need to cut that budget back? And what about the taxes for these residents, these homeowners in town?
I don't think we've looked hard enough at the budget because even as soon as last year, you can see that they said they have cut everything back to bare bones, yet we're spending $500,000 in the Bayfront community redevelopment. And that, to me, doesn't benefit all residents of the city, so we need to make that. We need to privatize that. We need to get the businesses on that section to partner with us and share in that cost. That's immediate savings right there. With immediate savings like that and using common sense and not just building a new castle to build one, we didn't need that city hall right now. We didn't need the trash can program right now. All that is wasteful spending that could have went into keeping the millage rate down, keeping the taxpayers happy. The residents aren't happy right now, and they want change, and that's what we're going to bring. And we're going to do it through cutting wasteful spending and bringing in economic development that wants to partner with us and share some of the cost burdens. We're not going to be the city that thinks we can control the school system, think we can be Palm Bay Realty and buy foreclosed homes and fix those up and get into the charter school debacle that costs us millions of dollars. The red light cameras are coming back to bite us in the butt here. That's going to cost us $90,000 when it's all said and done.
All right, very good. You mentioned CRAs in your answer. Those community redevelopment agencies, seen a lot of misuse in those in places around the state and a lot of problems caused for city governments by them. Do you feel CRAs have worked okay in Palm Bay? Have they managed them properly? Is it something that you would be in favor of if done right, or how do you want to see those kind of things managed?
The problem with it is that we take it head on. We think we can do the best job at it. We don't get ideas from the community. We don't get ideas from the community business, and we don't ask them to partner with us in the redevelopment of those districts. We come in with the plan, we show them the plan, and then we put our sign out there, our nice, pretty sign that costs us $1,000, and say everything's going to be okay. And half of the stuff that we've done can't even be seen today. It's already back to the condition that it was, such as Driscoll and the Bayfront Community Mental, the Bayfront area. You can tell that not every resident is using the Bayfront. It is not doing what it was supposed to do. We've yet to do anything with the empty lot in Winn-Dixie. That was a debacle. You drive down it, it doesn't smell any better, it doesn't look any better. So for me, as a resident and a taxpayer and a candidate, I'm looking to see actual improvements, and they're yet to be seen. You have to drive off into a cove and really get back in there to see where the bulk of the money went to one park, and that's just not feasible for every resident in this time. I'm all for parks and I'm all for beautification, but I think there's a better way to do it.
All right, very good. Let's talk about code enforcement. It's an issue that I harp on a good bit, and I want to know what your ideas are, what code enforcement should be compared to what it is right now, or do you think it's okay as it is?
Well, I mean, it's horrible right now. It's absolutely horrible. The big developers get plenty of fines, and they never pay them, while the little guy gets one fine, and they're running him down for a month and a half to try to get their money or this guy to repair his situation. Also, on the same hand, there's a good balance. You don't want the neighbor with the 6-foot high grass and the ditch that doesn't drain and stuff like that. But I think we need to be more proactive instead of reactive, instead of just asserting fees in our hand and everything. And, we got new patrol cars, we got new paint jobs, we got new city code compliance cars, we've got all this fancy stuff, yet we're telling the resident to cut back on their budget. We're telling them that we're going to raise their millage. We're telling them if we do it one more time, it's going to have to be a tax referendum. I think we really need to re-examine what kind of city we want to be. Do we want to be resident-friendly, or do we want to be the fist that tells you what to do? And I don't think we want to be that. We want to be resident-friendly. Of course, we want a great-looking city. We want home values to increase. We want neighborhoods to be nice. And, we want businesses to operate in a safe manner and correctly, not just painting whatever they want or putting out whatever sign they want. But there's a happy median, and we've seemed to go over the line too many times. So we need to draw back a little bit and worry about our essential services.
Code enforcement right now under the direction of the police department, is that appropriate?
No, not at all. Not at all. They certainly have enough going on. Crime in Palm Bay is down. We're doing good in that. I believe we're the 5th lowest crime in Florida, which is great. But that is not their department. That is a city function, and it should remain a city function. And the man that's doing the code compliance, that needs to be his job. He doesn't need to be worried about anything other than that. So I think when you put that in the department's hand, that's just a whole nother thing they have to worry about, a whole nother budget they got to come up with, a whole nother assignment they got to come up with. You think you would leave crime to solve crimes and not get into code compliance issues? I don't think if there's an issue with somebody code compliance that requires the police, that code compliance officer can call the police.
All right. Code enforcement, primarily a health and safety thing, or do aesthetics come into play? Does the city need to be telling folks what color a house should be or what looks appropriate for a particular neighborhood?
Not at all. A private residence is a private residence. If it's not in, like you said, health and safety, if it's not impacting somebody's health or safety, we really need to stay out of it. Of course, we don't want 6-foot yards with tigers living in them and stuff like that, but we need to work with that resident. There's feasible solutions, and most of the time it's as simple as that man's lawnmower doesn't work, and his neighbor could come mow the yard for him, or any land service. Instead of us cutting our medians, why don't we work with the Brevard County prison system to weed whack our medians, and then we'd have an extra $1 for somebody to go over there and mow the guy's yard. I just think we've gotten so unfriendly with turning our back on the resident instead of helping. I'm a big believer in things used to be better when you could go out and say hello to your neighbor and have a conversation with them, as opposed to run to your car and go to work and not even know your neighbor's name. So
4 candidates in a race can make it tough to distinguish who's the best candidate. Do me a favor, lay out for this audience the distinction between you and the other 3 people in this race.
For me, it's all about policy. It really is about policy. In 4 years, Passion has had plenty of chance to offer up policies. She hasn't offered up policies. She said she was a against red light cameras in the beginning. She voted for them. She was against the firefighter contract in the beginning. She voted for it. It's really a clear choice. Pat Woodward has had his time on the council. We've seen tax rates go up under Pat Woodward. We've seen the Florida vernacular, which is not small business friendly. And Missy Wilson doesn't have a policy. So on day one, I'm coming in. I'm going to sit down with the council people, the city manager. We're going to hammer out the pension issue. We're going to work on the tax rates, and we're going to increase economic development. That's day one. I'm not going to be a part-time candidate. I'm going to market this city the way it should be marketed, as the perfect place to grow and live. And that's where we can go. But we need a conservative voice on the council. We need Brian Jacob Anderson.
Brian, if folks want to learn more about your campaign or contact you with questions, what's the best way for them to reach you or learn about you?
I mean, you can email me if you'd like. I don't have any issues with that. It's andersonforseat3@yahoo.com. You could call me on my cell phone. Do you mind if I give that out?
Go ahead.
I don't mind if a resident ever calls me. It's 321-557-8027, and we'll come to your house, have tea or coffee, or have a conversation about just about anything you'd like to have a conversation about.
Brian Jacob Anderson, thanks for taking the time and coming in today. And as the folks of Palm Bay take a look at these races, they're going to get a chance to look at you and see what you're saying. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us here on WMMBAM.com. Back with more throughout this campaign season. Thanks for being here.